Hey everyone, in today's video, I want to show you how to use DaVinci Resolve and how to edit with DaVinci Resolve. And this is going to be a beginner's tutorial, but I'll walk you step by step on how to get started with a project all the way to exporting and delivering your project or posting it online. Now, DaVinci Resolve has been around for many years, and it used to be just dedicated to color correction, but in the last several years it's become a full-blown editor and is by far the most advanced free editor that you could get. Now, there are two different versions of DaVinci Resolve. There is a free version, which I'm going to show you in this video, and there's a paid version. As you can see, I have one of them here, and it's called DaVinci Resolve Studio. And I got it because I bought a camera from the same company that makes DaVinci Resolve. It's called Blackmagic. So here's an example of what a Blackmagic camera looks like. This is a 6K camera. And in this edit project, as I walk you through Resolve, I'm going to show you how to do an unboxing video for this. I'll use an example of the footage I captured of this camera and a whole unboxing so you see what a real life project looks like. And I've been editing professionally for 15 years, went to film school before that, and I've edited almost 1,000 YouTube videos just on this channel. So I'm gonna walk you through everything I know about editing step by step, but I'll make this as short and concise as possible. I'll put more resources in the description though if you wanna learn more about Resolve. I'm putting more training together for that, and some of the things we're gonna talk about are going to be in the links below in this video, including a link to downloading DaVinci Resolve. So let's go ahead and click that link and get started from there. And DaVinci Resolve is available for Mac, for Windows, and for Linux. So it doesn't matter what system you're on your computer, you could download it for any one of them. And whatever is the latest version, just go ahead and download it whenever you're watching this. It doesn't change all that much from version to version. I've used version 14, 15, 16, and they're pretty much similar to 17, and 18 and 19, I'm sure, are gonna have some minor upgrades. So I'm gonna go ahead and download it for Mac. I've already installed it, so let me show you the opening window here. And this is what you'll see as your opening window here. It's the projects panel. So as you create more and more projects, they'll all appear here. I'm gonna press new project here to create my first project and label it and press create. And just like that, it's gonna open DaVinci Resolve. So let me quickly show you the overview of the interface here, and then we'll go through our actual project, which is the unboxing of that Blackmagic camera. And I'm gonna add music to it. I'm gonna show you how to do everything you need to from start to finish of a project. If you look down here, you'll have 7 different icons. And the great thing about it is if you've never edited before, this walks you through exactly how the editing process is going to go. So let me show you this first. The first panel is called Media, which is any video clip, any music, any photos, anything that you want to use your edit is going to get imported into your project from here. Then you'll get to the cut window, which you could do minor edits and cutting your footage down. Then you go to the edit window. Typically, I just jump over here after importing my footage. Here's where all your editing is going to take place. You could even play with audio here, add music. Everything is going to happen here for your edit. Then if you want, you could go to the Fusion panel, and the Fusion panel has a lot of different options for adding text, motion graphics. There's some 3D options here, a lot of more advanced things here. So we're not gonna really dive deep into that. And then after that, you get to color, and color is by far the most powerful part of DaVinci Resolve. Many professionals in films and commercials use this part of DaVinci Resolve for color correction. So I'll show you briefly how to use this, but I'll make more advanced training for that. And then finally, you get to Fairlight, which is a place to mix your audio. Now, this is again a more advanced tool. You could actually mix your audio in the editing panel, but you can do more advanced things like adding filters and doing a lot of things in the Fairlight audio mixer here. And finally, the deliver panel, once your project is complete, you could decide where it's gonna go. Is it gonna go to YouTube? Are you gonna export ProRes if you're gonna deliver this for even a commercial? Vimeo, Twitter, all these options are available up here for you to experiment with, and I'll cover this at the end of the video. So first things first, let's go to the Media tab. The very first thing you do with every project after you organize your footage on an external hard drive is you need to import media. Now, how do you do that? 2 ways. One, you could right click here and then you could go ahead and import media. That's this option. There's a shortcut for it. I'm not going to cover too many keyboard shortcuts just to make this simple. So if you're on a Mac, it's Control click. If you're on a PC or Linux, it's just right click. And I've organized my footage here on this external hard drive, so I'm going to bring that in. Now, there's on-camera footage. This is just raw on-camera footage of me doing the unboxing, and you could see it has no color to it because I'm gonna show you some color correction. So I shot this on purpose without any color. And then I have what's called B-roll. That's just footage of what I'm going to talk about. So you could see some B-roll, that's some cinematic shots of the camera that I just recorded yesterday here. So I'm gonna add those to the project. I could either grab individual clips. Now these came from a memory card. You could also have these on a computer from someone emailing you, or really any number of ways to get footage on your computer. So I'm gonna grab this, and I could hold down shift and select all of them here, and it will select all the different clips, and I could press open. And next it's gonna say project setting frame rate. I'm going to press change because I do want my frame rates of the project to match what the footage is, and it's imported that footage for me. The other way to bring footage is you could open a window here, or even from your desktop here, you could just go ahead and shrink dissolve down here. And if there's footage on your computer here, you could go ahead and just grab them. So I'm gonna just grab them and then drop them over here. You can see it just brought it right in. That's the shot that I just brought in. And I could select the rest. I'm gonna hold down shift and select all of them and bring them in like this. I'm still in the media tab, and you could see I could scrub through just to get a little preview of all the different things I have going on here. So all my B-roll are these shots, and all my on-camera things are these shots, and you could see how they laid out in the import panel. And you could always go ahead and come up here, select one of these, and then go ahead and press play, and you could see it's playing that shot right here for me. It's just a good way to get a preview of what's going on in your project. But in the edit, we're gonna really decide what's good and what we're gonna keep with our edit. And you may want to bring music here too. We're gonna add music later in our project. So I created a music folder here, and I put a music file here. I'll show you where to get copyright free music so you don't get in trouble if you're publishing this on YouTube in the section where we're gonna talk about music. But I'm gonna grab and drop this over here too. So it's gonna add it over here, and you can see my music is now laid out. Okay, so everything's been imported. All my footage, all my music. If I wanna bring photos or graphics, I could also bring those here. Now let's go to the next panel, which is the cut panel. And I usually skip this panel because everything you could do in the cut panel, you could also do in the edit panel. So instead of going through this exact workflow, I go from media to edit. So do the same here, go to the edit panel. And here on the edit panel, you can see all the media we've imported here on the left side of our DaVinci Resolve platform here. And I'm going to go down because I want to tell my story first, which is me unboxing the camera. So I'm going to add the secondary B-roll shots, which are all these different shots after. So the very first step is cut down your main section and tell your story. So I could go ahead and select one of these. I could either grab it and just bring it down here, and you could see if I just come up to the very beginning and let go, this puts it right here on my timeline. Now this section down here is either called a timeline, it's basically your entire edited video, which you're gonna edit as we go, or it's called a sequence. You could refer to it both ways. That's probably the easiest way to bring footage into your sequence and start editing it, is just over here from your media tab, bringing it and dragging it and dropping it over here. I can't see my whole clip. You could see right here is the times. So it starts at 1 hour, which is basically your 0 mark. And then it goes to 32 seconds. So all I'm really seeing is the first 32 seconds of this huge long clip. So I could grab the slider and just shrink it down so I could see more of it all the way to the end, which in this case is about 7 minutes long. And as you could see, right here it says video and right here it says audio. It separates your video and your audio into 2 different tracks. They're connected to each other, so if you make any changes and cut, it's going to do it to your video and audio, which is okay in this case. Sometimes I'll show you when it's not okay and you want to treat your video and audio tracks separately. Let's begin our edit. The most common way to do an edit is using the blade tool, which is right here. And it's a one keyboard shortcut you should really learn. It's just B for blade tool. So if I press B here, it selected the blade tool, it turned red. I could bring it down here and I could decide where this is gonna start. I could see right here, based on what's called audio waveform, you see all these waves, that nothing is happening till about right here. So I could cut it there. Then this little arrow is A for selection tool. So I'm gonna press A on my keyboard, it's gonna select that. Now I could select this piece and then press delete on my keyboard. Now I got rid of that section. That was just a bad section of me not doing anything yet. The video hadn't started, so I need to delete it. Now I need to fill this gap, because if I just press spacebar, right here you could see my videos playing, but it's only showing black. So I need to select the rest of this, again with the selection tool, and just drag it to the beginning. Now, if I press play, it's playing my video right now. Let me go ahead and expand this, and it looks like I made another mistake. So the video again is gonna start a little bit later. Looks like it's gonna start right here. So I'm gonna go right here. I'm just dragging this time indicator, this line, to where I wanna start. I'm gonna press B for the blade tool and then make the cut. And I just made the cut right there. And I'm gonna press A to delete this. Now, another useful option is, instead of deleting and then grabbing this and bringing it back, you could hold down Shift and press delete. And that basically does that step for you. So using the blade tool and then using the arrow tool and then pressing Shift delete is the most common way I get rid of areas of my edit I don't want to use. So for example, again, I'll hold B here, I'll cut here, I'll cut here, then I'll press A, I'll select this, and then Shift delete right there is gonna add those together for me. So that's the most basic form of editing here. Another way that is going to be very handy is sometimes you need to cut a clip, and then let's say I decided this clip should start before this clip. So how do I grab this and bring it in between these two clips? Well, I could simply just go ahead and grab this clip and bring it up and after this clip, and then I could select both of these and then bring them back. So it's very simple for moving clips around. You could just grab a clip, move it, move things around just like this. Now the keyboard shortcuts do make it easier, but I know when I first started editing, I didn't really worry about learning keyboard shortcuts. I just learned the basics, which is blade tool, selection tool, and the Shift delete tool. And I'll show you a few more that you'll need to know, but otherwise you could just go ahead and make cuts here and drag and drop clips in different orders here and then move them around. And that's the basics of editing on this panel. Now, obviously, I'm going to spend more time and make sure I get exactly the video I want out of this 7-minute clip. And let's say I've done that. Now I want to add clips on top of it as I talk about this camera. So how do I add that? Again, I mentioned it's called B-roll when you have footage that doesn't have anyone talking in it, just like this one here. So to add B-roll, let me show you a different way to bring it in. Instead of dragging and dropping just like you've seen before, I'm going to select this and press delete. I'm going to double click it. It's going to put it here in my preview window. This is my program window. This is what's going to be my finished product here. But this is just for previewing things. And here I could just scrub through and see the entire shot. Now, if I like a portion of this, remember this keyboard shortcut. You could use I, that will put this in point here, and then keep going and press O, that will put an out point. So now my selection is just here and here, not this entire clip. If I grabbed it from here and bring it in here, it brought me the whole clip. In this case, I don't want to do that. I just want to bring the in point and the out point. Now to add it to my sequence down here, I just grab it and bring it down. And it's added it. It's very small, so let me actually zoom into it. There it is. So now it's going to go, let me go a little further back here and press spacebar. It's going to go from me talking into that B-roll and then come out. Now, what if I want to make this a little bit longer here? I could just grab the ends of it, and as soon as my mouse turns to this right here, where it says I could extend it to the left, I could click and drag and make this clip a little bit longer. Same thing on this side, I could grab and make this clip a little bit longer on that end. So you could do this with any clip too. So when you make your in and out points, you could still extend the length of the clip, and you could change the ending of any clip. You can make it shorter too using the same technique over here. So now it's going to go from video track number 1, which is me talking, to video track number 2, and then back to video track number 1. So you could layer your video clips like this on top of each other. And I usually dedicate different video tracks to different things. So video track number 1 is going to be to all the footage of me talking. Video track number 2 is going to be to all the footage of the camera, the B-roll. And then maybe I could add another video track to put text or whatever else I want on video track number 3. And to add tracks, all you have to do is right click over here in this section and say add track. And there it is. Now I have a video track number 3. So you could put a ton of different video tracks on top of each other for more complex projects. But just to keep it simple, we have video track 1, which is more often someone talking, and then cuts to video track number 2. Now, the one thing this did that I want to show you where sometimes this is not what you want, this video of the camera also has sound down here. You see how it has a different soundtrack? You put it in audio track 2, but I don't want this track because this is not sound I want with my video. So if I press delete, it's going to delete the whole thing. I don't want that. So I'm going to press Command or Control+Z. That undoes my last action. That's also a very useful keyboard shortcut. It's also up here. Undo and redo is also up here in the edit panel. So remember that too. And now if I want to separate the audio and video, so I could just delete the audio, I could right click on this and I could remove this option, link clip on the bottom. And now if I click away and select the audio, I could delete it and the video remains. So that's a very useful option. There are a ton of other options. A lot of them are more advanced here, so we won't cover it right now. But the last one of linking a clip comes in really handy. Another way, let me double click another clip here. And let's go ahead and put an in and out point. Let's go ahead and see where we want to do that. I'll put an in point here and let's keep going and I'll put an out point there. So again, I'm using the keyboard shortcut I and O, in and out. But now if I come up here, you see there's a video icon and there's an audio icon. So I could just grab the video icon and bring it down here next to my other clip and just let it snap to the last clip. Now it's gonna go from this shot to this shot very seamlessly here. And again, I could decide if I want to make this longer, if I want to change the order of them, if I want to grab both of them here, select both and then move them anywhere within my edit. So you really want to take your time and work with this project. So I usually give a project one pass. I go through and make the video track number 1 to be exactly what I want. On the second pass, I add other clips that I have to video track number 2. And then once I kind of get an idea of what my project is going to sound like, I may want to come in and add text to my project. So how do I do that? You could also do this in the edit panel, and you could also do this in the fusion panel. But I usually do this in the edit panel. Let me show you how to do that. Go up here, you see this thing called FX library, click that, and it opens up all these different filters over here that you could use. Now I'll show you a few of them here that are useful. One of them is titles. So if you select titles over here, it's gonna show you some basic titles that you could simply put in over your video. Now I'm gonna go again to video track number 3. Remember, I just right clicked and added the track to get video track number 3. So it could be dedicated to text. And I could just grab one of these and then drag it over here. And this could be my text in the beginning of the video. So let me go ahead and extend it out. And there is my text right here, and it's gonna show up here as a lower third. Now, how do you edit this text? I just have to double click it. It's gonna open this panel on this side, and I could change the name of it over here. And looks like there's a couple of different boxes. So if I wanna change this to something else, I could go ahead and do that. So you have sometimes 2 boxes, sometimes 1 box as your actual text goes here. Then you have a ton of options here. Font size, you could just grab the slider and change the font size. You have font color here. So if I wanted to change the font color, I could click this box here and I could go ahead and make it something else. But I want to make sure it's easy to read, especially if I don't have a background on it. I'll press OK. Let's keep going down, see what else we have. We have drop shadow, we have stroke. We could even add a background here. So I could add a background and I could change the height here of the background, the width of the background, and just make it a little bit easier to read. So a ton of different options you could play around with to make sure this is exactly what you want. And let's say this is going to be the section right here on my lower third. So that's how you add text and titles. The next thing I'll show you here is sometimes you want to add a transition. So for example, let's say I didn't want this shot right here. I'll just click over here and come right before this shot. I don't want me talking and then going straight into the shot. Maybe I want to put a transition to make that a little bit more seamless or smooth, not just a straight cut that you saw. You also have video transitions on the FX library. So same place I could press video transitions, and you have a ton of different transitions to choose from. Now, I recommend not using more than 2 or 3 different transitions per project and keeping it to the basics. You could really ruin a project by just using some of these really cheesy transitions like a cross iris here. But you could get a little preview as you go through each one to see what it's gonna look like. So one of my favorites is just a cross dissolve. This is just when it dissolves from one clip to another. So I'll grab it, I'll put it right in the beginning of this clip. You see right there, it's letting me do it. I'll drop it. Now let's go back here and press spacebar here. And I have myself on mute, that's why you can't hear me. And that's just a simple cross dissolve from one clip to another. The other one is sometimes in between 2 clips, you want to dip to a color. So this one is called dip to color. I could drag this one, put it between the 2 clips. You see now it's between this clip and this clip. I'll press spacebar to play it. And that was just a simple dip to black between 2 clips, which is also very useful, especially when there's music. Any one of these, you could also have complete control. So I could select one of them, double click it, and it opens this section for me where you could change the duration, you could change the type of transition, and all the different options always show up over here. Very, very useful and easy to add DaVinci Resolve transitions just by grabbing it and dragging and dropping it where you want them. Okay, while we're still on the panel for editing, let's go ahead and add music. You could actually do that over here. So if you didn't add music in the media tab, just go ahead and right click here in this section and import media, and you could add your music here. So this panel, the editing panel where we're on, is by far the most powerful because you could do just about everything for your project here except for delivering the project, which will happen at the end. To add music to your project, make sure it's imported here, and here's my music track. Again, I could grab this and bring it down here to another track, not the track where I'm talking, that's track 1. I just dragged it and dropped it to audio channel 2 here. Let me go ahead and make this a little bit smaller so we can see. And there is our music track. Now, as far as where I get my music from, there are a ton of websites where you could purchase music, royalty-free music. That just means you won't get in trouble for using the music on a commercial or on YouTube or really any public place. If this is an internal or a home movie, it's okay. But for anything that other people are going to see, you need royalty-free music. YouTube actually gives you a strike or copyright strike if you use music you don't have permission to use. So I recommend this place called Envato. I have an affiliate link in the description below to this platform. And the main reason why I like it, not because they have thousands, tens of thousands of different really good quality songs you could choose from, but because the pricing is based on a monthly unlimited pricing. Some of the other platforms, every time you download a song, you have to pay for that song. This basically lets you download as many as you want for a flat monthly fee. And you also have access to all these different things like stock video, lets you download and use all these different clips in your videos, all part of the same monthly pricing. So it makes it really, really awesome to get everything you want, from graphics to photos to fonts to sound effects and music, and even video templates here to do some really fancy things with editing, all in one platform for one price. So if you want to check this out and get your music from here, this is typically where I get my music. Now, sometimes you'll have to add more music tracks here to fill your whole audio track, so it doesn't end before your video's done. So you could go ahead and do that way. And if you have people talking and then music underneath, the music is going to overwhelm the person talking and you can't hear them. So you have to change the level of the music track. One of the simpler ways to do this is you could just come over here, and when your mouse turns to these double arrows, you could grab it and drag this down. Typically, music tracks fall somewhere between 26 and 30 dB. That makes it pretty good for the audio to be heard pretty clearly and makes the music the background music. So that's how you change it. You could do this to multiple different clips. Another way you could do this is there's this option right here. It says mixer. Select this and it shows you this nice mixer over here where you have your different audio tracks. So I have audio track 1, that's me talking. Audio track 2 is the music. And bus 1, that's just the overall mix of my whole video. So I could just grab audio track number 2 and bring it down to about 30 here. And it's gonna change the audio for my music. Now, again, I have this on mute so I could talk through it, but if I press play, now you could see as I talk, I don't want that to go very high. I don't really want it to go anywhere over -5. I could raise it a little bit if I want to here. And I want my music to be way down here. And then my overall mix again, I don't want it to really hit red. So if I boost something too high and it starts hitting red, that's gonna clip and distort my audio. I definitely don't want that. So pay attention to this. You could also use your ear here to see how the mix between the music and the vocals sound if you have that. If you don't have anyone talking, you want your music to be just at about the same level. So if no one was talking here, you do want your music to be somewhere over this range of just barely hitting the red area here. So just under -5, -6 dB is fine. So this is a very useful mixer just to mix your audio very, very easily. And I'll close the mixer here. And last thing I'll show you is sometimes you want to fade out your video or your audio. All you have to do is come to the end of it right here. And let me choose music here. You see this little dot that shows up, these double arrows? Click it and drag it back. And this is fading out your music. Now, it also shows you how long the fade out is. So 4 seconds, 5, 6, 7, depending on what you want to do, you could fade out the music easily this way. You could do the same thing with the video even. So if I go over here and press play, this is gonna actually fade to black because I just dragged this down. You can see slowly fading to black. Now, typically with video, you don't want the fade to be that long and you don't want it to interfere with someone talking. But you get the idea here. You could fade just about anything here just by grabbing it on these corners and bringing it in and out. Let's say we're done with our edit on this section. The next page is Fusion. And under Fusion, as I mentioned, you could add multiple different things here like text, and you could paint things. You could do a lot of different things, but this is much more advanced for what we were gonna cover in this video. But I just wanna show you that there are some possibilities here, and it gives you a lot more options, much more advanced options that we won't cover here. Let's go to this panel, color. Now, color is probably the most useful part of DaVinci for professionals. For noob editors, you usually shoot videos or deal with videos that already have the color that you want, and you might want to do some minor changes. But I purposefully, let me double click this here and bring it over here. You could see that I shot this with basically no color just so I could show you some very basic color correction. I'm not going to go too deep again. This is very, very professional. There are entire courses dedicated to DaVinci Resolve color correction. And if you look over here, he basically laid out the different types of shots I have. So I have this shot, and this shot. Those could be color corrected, and then I could copy whatever I did to those shots to other clips in my timeline. It makes it really simple so you don't have to color correct every single clip that shows up over here. And probably the easiest panel to use over here is this one right here. This is called color wheels. It's really easy to use here. Let's go ahead and play with these sliders over here. So typically, I'll play around with my shadows. So I want more shadows in this footage. So I'll make it a little bit darker here. And highlights, I'll bring the highlights up a little bit. And then saturation, this has no color, so I need to add a lot more saturation to it. So I'll bring the saturation up here. I'm just grabbing this, and you could also type in a number here and bring in some saturation all the way to 100. I don't usually touch hue here, so I'll leave that be. And then up here, you have some options. You have temperature. This is gonna make it warmer or cooler, depending on which way you go. So I'll just leave this one. I don't need to do much with temperature. Tint, I also don't do much with, but you could change the color of your overall shot with tint. And contrast is probably very useful because this needs a lot of contrast, so I'm gonna boost that up. Oh, I went too far. Let me bring it back, and somewhere over here is where I want my contrast to be. And it's starting to look good just playing with those few different sliders here. And you could also play with these color wheel here. Just grab this dot and move it around to see what effects you get. You also have this drop down that lets you white balance. So if you select this and select something white on your image, it fixes a lot of the issues for you. So I'll select the white area of this box, and it fixed some of the color for me just by white balancing. Now I'll show you a before and after. I'm gonna right click on this section and reset this. You see how it was before, and I'll press Command Z to bring it back. So that's my after. So I just did this very quickly. I usually spend a lot more time on this panel and really dive into much deeper things like curves and really tweak all kinds of things into my shot. But just for the basic overview, just play around with the color wheel and you should get what you're looking for basic overview of DaVinci Resolve color correction. And if you decide that you like what this looks like and you want to apply it to the other clips in your video, so this is the before, this is the after, I could just simply select this node right here and press Control or Command C. That copies all my effects here. Then I could come to this clip and press Command or Control V, and that pastes the color correction that I did to my other clip. It's a very, very simple way to apply effects from one clip to another clip. Okay, let's say we're done here with our color correction. Let me just go ahead and add it to this clip and to this clip. And let's go to the next section, which is Fairlight. In Fairlight, you get some advanced mixing, and even the DaVinci Resolve Studio, the paid version of DaVinci I showed you, give you a lot of different effects and filters here that you won't have in the free one, but the free one is very, very powerful too. But this is again for more advanced audio mixing, so we're not going to cover it in this video, but I want to show you that it's available here. So you want to learn more about this panel, just go ahead and look up some of the trainings that are available for that. Let's go to the Deliver tab and get this project out of DaVinci so we could post it online or send it to whoever we need to. In this panel, everything is pretty straightforward. It just lays it out over here on the left side. Where do you want this video to go? Most common ways is you could go to YouTube. That's this option over here. You could export as ProRes. This makes a massive file. The file size is going to be really big, but typically when I'm making commercials for different brands, I usually do the ProRes export. And you have some other options like H.264 is a very common way to get this out on the web, and probably going to H.265. Right now, this is more supported online as I'm recording this, so this is what I would choose. So really between this and ProRes is your export options, unless you know exactly where you're going. So if you're going to YouTube, which this video is exactly going to YouTube for this unboxing, I'm going to select that. Now resolution, this is 1080p or HD. I could change it to 4K because my project was shot in 4K. So if you have that option, you could choose that. The frame rate was set in the very beginning of the project, so I'm going to leave it as is. That's why I just let it change automatically and didn't go to the frame rate settings in the beginning. QuickTime or MP4, I could choose that. I usually choose MP4, and then the H.264 is the codec for YouTube too, so the same one is for YouTube as well. And that's all your export settings. Again, the only thing that may change is if you want to do HD or 4K or even smaller here like 720p, you could choose that. Or if they have other export settings by the time you see this and you could export 6K, go ahead and choose that. Then you label this whatever you want and choose a location, just press browse, choose a destination. The movie folder is fine here, I'll press save, and I'm all set. I could just go down here and press add to render queue. There's an option to upload direct to YouTube. I never use this because I'm on full control on posting on YouTube. I have different videos on how to properly post on YouTube as well. You could watch those to get a good idea on how to do that. I'll press add to render queue. And you could see over here, it's render queue. This is the job. And you could add multiple projects here to the render queue and then press render all. And it's gonna go through my whole video here and start exporting it. And it will show up in my movies folder. And then I could go ahead and send it to anybody, put it on Dropbox or Google Drive to share it that way, post it on YouTube, Twitter, Vimeo, whatever I want to do, I could do after this is done. And here's an external hard drive. I recommend everybody that's editing more than a hobby buys these because you'll never lose footage this way. I buy 2 of these identical ones. I put my footage to both of them, so if one fails, it's still on the other one, and I edit right off the drive, and it saves my computer from filling up with space because video files are huge. That's why I recommend buying these. I'll put a couple of them that I like in the description below. I hope you found this video useful. Please give it a thumbs up. Check out all the resources we talked about in the description below, and I'll see you on the next video.